Hi, I'm CJ Peterson. I'm over here. It's my co-host over here, author Michael Scott Clifton. Welcome to Book World: The Great Escape. Today, we're going to be talking on knowing your target audience. Before we get there, Mike, how is the author world working for you today?
It's doing good. I just got a check from the museum in Longview. I'm trying to remember the county museum there. We did a event there with the Dalton Days,
Okay.
and they bought 20 of my books for
Nice.
they're going to actually sell. So I discounted the price for them. They're not really trying to make money, but they're trying to promote indie authors from around the area, which I thought was pretty neat. And so I discounted the books so that they can make a little bit of money for the museum and stuff. And so I thought that was neat. But I've been digging potatoes, CJ. I grow. One of my
Sorry,
hobbies
Lord of
is
the Rings
gardening.
potatoes just popped into my head.
Literally been digging potatoes. And have you've ever heard of that expression? Be careful what you ask for. Well, I got ambitious and I planted 3 or 4 rows of potatoes, and I'm about worn out digging potatoes. Oh, it is. I mean, if any of you living around the Mount Pleasant area, you need some fresh red potatoes, I'm your man. Okay.
I
I've
saw you
got,
had a little helper there with you, though.
yeah, my grandson is 5 years old, Jace, and he helped me harvest some of the potatoes. Last year, he was 4, and he was good for pulling up 3 plants, and then he was done. But this year, he helped me get through an entire row. So it's good to have a hobby, keep yourself busy. Gardening is kind of one of my hobbies, and of course, writing is something I enjoy as well. So anyway, like I said, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Been digging potatoes, and
Nice.
if anyone ever wants to know about the art of digging potatoes, just let me know. I'll give you all the fine details.
Awesome. Well, on June 6th and 7th, actually June 6th, we're not going to be there for June 7th, but we're going to be down in Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Convention Center for Kimo Kawaii. I will be selling books down there and also covering it for Magic Making Mischief, my other podcast. Lord willing, I will have my costume at that point. We're going to be doing Star Wars. So I will be an original character. I'm playing a Jedi Knight that I am making up. There's no redheaded Jedi Knight, so I'm making one. And Super Hubby will also be a Jedi Knight. But I will be taking my books down there and I'll be selling some of them. And like I said, covering it for Magic Making Mischief. And then on the 18th and 19th of July, I'll be running the floor for East Texas Comic Con down in Longview, Texas. So mark your calendars for that. And I believe Mike will be down there as well. And then mark your calendars for the 20th and 30th of August. We'll be having Piney Woods Comic Con down in Lufkin, Texas. And again, I'll be running the floor for that as well. So mark your calendars for that. I believe Mike will be there as well.
Yep.
So Mike, anything else you got on the in-between of those?
Well, the Mississippi Comic Con, that'll be the last week of June 26th, 27th, and 28th. That's in Jackson, Mississippi. And it's at the convention center there in Jackson. And of course, you mentioned the East Texas Comic Con. And then of course, these are all coming up during the summer. Bell County Comic Con, which is in Temple Belton area. That'll be August 1st and 2nd. I'll be at the Walworth Library Author Fest in Greenville, Texas on Saturday the 15th. And again, the Piney Woods Comic Con on the 29th. And it's a couple other Comic Cons that will be in the fall as well. So it's pretty busy. And as you well know, CJ, Comic Cons usually last 2 to 3 days, and they are a great event, but they are it does sap. It's fun, but it does take a lot of time and energy. And especially with what you do,
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and you get to meet neat people, good people.
We do. We get to meet a lot of really cool people. I'm going to do one little teeny tiny promotion. Next month is my birthday month. I do celebrate it all month long. But in that, super excited for my other podcast on the 9th of June at 7 p.m. We're going to have a special guest. So for Magic Making Mischief, my other podcast, we're going to have Corin Nemec of Stargate on. So for the sci-fi geeks that are watching, make sure to tune in on our Magic Making Mischief podcast at 7 o'clock on June 9th for Corin Nemec from Stargate. So it's just a little promo there for you. For any Comic-Con sci-fi geeks. That's just my little promo. But that's my birthday month celebration. It will be going all month long. So do you have anything else you want to add for your author promos?
No, I mean, I've got a new book coming out. It's probably sometime in mid to late summer, which will be actually my 10th book. Still have a long ways to catch up with you, CJ, but
I think I got more coming out. I'm just not putting any dates on them. I got some coming out because I'm not putting any dates on. Maybe August it might be coming out. It's the anthology with the teens. Hopefully that should be coming out in August, September.
So I'm not catching up with you, dang. So I thought maybe I'd catch up a little bit, but I guess not.
Hopefully that the first book of it will be coming out. That's one of the fantasy ones. So hopefully that'll be coming out in August or September. So today we're going to be talking about knowing your target audience and why it is important.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a couple questions you need to ask. Who is your target audience? Not who can read it or who can enjoy it.
Right.
That's one question. And the other question is, what emotion or specific experience are you promising your reader? So those are the main questions you need to ask when trying to determine who your target audience is. And the main reason is because you can really, really irritate your reader if you're off on those. I learned a long time ago, people are like, well, who are you targeting? When I first started, I'm like, well, anybody can read them.
Right.
That's not your target, though. What's your target? You got to narrow that down immensely. Because your target and who can read them are two totally different things. You have to first figure out what's the age category. Middle grades are 8 to 12. Young adults are 12 to 18. New adults, 18 to 30. Adults are 18 plus. That age difference varies immensely. So what is your target? What is it you're actually targeting? Anybody can read that, but what is your actual target that you're trying to hit? Who is your actual target audience? Could anybody read that? Yeah. But who is it you're trying to hit? Identify the core promise in the main plot. Romance. The core plot revolves around a love story with a happy ending, which we learned from Dana Wayne.
Right.
When it comes to thriller, suspense, and horror, there's usually a high stakes, a ticking clock, danger, keeping the reader on the edge of their seat. When it comes to mystery, the story centers around solving a crime or unraveling a puzzle. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer there. When it comes to sci-fi and fantasy, it's usually a different world, the future, incorporating supernatural element and or magic, and it can be in this world or it can be in a different world. When it comes to historical fiction, specific real world time period in the past. Is there a war going on? What's going on? Action adventure. Is there a quest? Is there a journey? Is there an epic adventure? When it comes to society or social and justice issues, think, Hunger Games, think Divergent, apocalyptic zombie, think end of the world, governmental chaos. Define the time period, where it takes place, past, historical, present, contemporary, future, space, different world, current world. There's a lot of things you kind of got to identify. When you have one specific main category, you can move to a subcategory. And then you can do a 3-book test. What other 3 big name books like yours would be sitting beside yours on a shelf? Look at the categories on Amazon if you're not sure. That's the 3 big book test. If you're looking to try to target your genre.
Right.
The biggest mistake, not putting it in the correct category just to sell a book. That will irritate the reader to the utmost.
Yeah. Yep.
They will not buy a book from you again.
That's
Honestly.
right.
It may generate sales, but don't expect your reader to buy another book. You'll be selling the wrong reader. It'll alienate the readers, and you're truly trying to reach. You'll also get poor reviews. In other words, it'll backfire. Or they may not find your book at all. When you have your category in too broad of a category, your book will drown out in all the books in the same
right.
category.
Yeah.
You'll find that you need to find the balance of having your book within the correct category, but not too broad or too niche. You know, some people put it into niche of a category hoping to get a #1 bestseller, and then they can't find the book at all. And you put it into broad of a category because you're like, well, this one's selling in romance. Well, romance is a very, very broad category. So then it gets drowned out in that category. So it's like, okay, how do I find that balance?
Yeah, the biggest mistake, particularly new writers and new authors can make, is to incorrectly identify who their target audience is. And it's not as easy as what you might think it is, because some genre, some books that authors write sort of bleed over into, maybe another genre, or as you mentioned, it's a niche genre, but it's not really a mainstream genre. And I know when I started writing, and I don't know if you had this problem, CJ, but when I first started out, that was one of the hardest things I had to learn to do, was to try to identify who I was writing for or who I was writing to. And you would think it would be a no-brainer, but it's really not. Now, if you write straight science fiction, okay, for example, that broad category, is easy. But what if you are writing? What if your science fiction has to do with a particular subgenre of science fiction? For example, time travel, which I think you have in some of your books.
I have one.
So do you market it as science fiction, or do you market it as time travel? And it isn't always easy to try to figure out. And of course, with Amazon, you get several categories, right? So when you're marketing your book, and those search engines and those keywords and those things, and you have to figure out, okay, what subgenre am I going to add to this, or what are some of the keywords I'm going to be using, because that is how you appeal. That's actually how you market to your target audience. And the thing nowadays too is, let's say 20 years ago, you had, science fiction, you had fantasy, you had romance, you had cozy mysteries, thrillers, pretty general, right? Now, if you go and you look for those same genres, there's a list of subgenres that just flow from that. And then you're, oh my gosh, now which ones do I need to pick? And again, it's not always easy, but it is crucial. I mean, absolutely crucial that you pick the right audience.
And what if yours doesn't actually fit those?
And that's a problem, because for a lot of authors, I'm going to include myself in that, they don't often, I have some books that don't neatly fit into a subgenre or a genre. They kind of cross the line between the two.
Our author from last week, where she had cozy apocalyptic, her stuff might not have fit in that stuff. So it's like,
oh yeah, she's like writing in several different genres, and for most authors, and the guest we had on last week has been pretty successful, across genre, but that's usually difficult to achieve, because most authors make their reputation within a particular genre: fantasy, science fiction, romance, etc. Um, but I will say, and this is something you mentioned earlier, CJ, if you mislabel, if you miss market, if you market your book and you put it in the wrong genre, as you pointed out, and you sell a lot of books, but you, pardon my French, piss off a bunch of the readers because they were expecting a different kind of book because it's not following the genre that they thought it was supposed to. I mean, you've already turned off a bunch of potential readers and you'll get a reputation. And that's the last thing you want as an indie author, and especially.
And the ones that are supposed to read it are not going to be able to find it.
No.
So you've irritated two sets of readers.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that. You want to be able to put it in the right spot. You want to be able to put it at the right reading level. And the cool thing is if you find the right reading level, you will be able to find the right readers. So for example, the books that I write, I put them in the right reading level. And the cool thing is the homeschool moms found them and they gave them to their kids to read. So the homeschool moms read them, gave them to their kids to read because that's the right reading level that I put them in. And that opened a door for the moms and the homeschool kids to talk about them.
Right.
So my target audience was the homeschool kids, and the parents read them and opened a door for the homeschool kids to read them. And they're able to utilize that as an open door because of the subjects that I talk about. And so it enabled a double open door. So in putting it in the right reading level and the right category, it made me have two happy readers, the parents and the homeschool kids.
And it broadened the appeal and the audience that you were trying to target.
Exactly.
But even again, on Amazon, when you're having to put down the age level of the books, because Amazon is where 80 to 90% of all book traffic flows through, even that's not easy anymore.
No.
Even that's not, oh, well, that's a no-brainer. No, it's really not, because most people, and I include myself in that, most authors, unless they're specifically writing for younger kids, like children's books, that's easy, right? Yeah. Okay, that's easy. But
even that's not easy, though, to be honest, because the children's books their categories are wild. I'm going to be honest with you, because I have two children's books, and even some of those are wild. So
it's a little easier, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds.
But what is, when you say, okay, teenage level, is that to 16? Does the magic barrier start at 16, 17? What is adult? Is adult 17 up?
Middle grade is 8 to 12. Young adult is 12 to 18. New adult is 18 to 30. And then adult is 18 plus. So you've got that middle barrier between new adults and adult. And so it's like, which one are you going to pick?
And what's funny is that it's really not funny, but it kind of is that you get these kids that are, of course, they're digital natives. They're on the internet. If they see that it's, not the 18 and up adults, they may not even buy it because they think it's not. They may not even check out the book because they figure it's too PG, if you want to call it that. And on the same token, and this is what makes it so funny, is that a lot of adults buy the pre-18-year-old age range books, like take Harry Potter series. Mm-hmm. I'd say as many adults bought those books as the kids.
I have.
Yes. I mean, I'm the same way, but it's kind of like if you put an arbitrary age limit on there when you're categorizing your book, you may lose some readers or you may gain some readers depending A, on your genre, and B, as we talk about target audience, who you're trying to appeal to. So
Yeah.
it's walking a tightrope. Like, it's 20 years ago, it was simple. Today, it takes so much thought. You got to be really careful in not only who you're writing to, but the choices you make in terms of your target audience, because it is not always cut and dry. In fact, most of the time anymore, it's really not.
Well, anymore too. It's like, well, okay, you got to think. Is this the same level as some of the games that they're watching, or the
Yes,
games they're
yeah.
playing, or what's on TV? Is it gonna, you know, am I gonna insult them by saying that it's not at their age level? You know, you got to. It's a fine line in some of those age brackets.
But I tell you what's made it more difficult for me, and I'm just speaking to myself personally, is the explosion of subgenres
Mhm.
over the last, just the last few years, because subgenres have become um, have become like islands of if in and of their own, where you specific. In fact, if you use keywords on Amazon, and you use Brian Cohen's, the keywords and the rating. Well, you have 80 to 90% competition if you use these keywords, and you're narrowing it down smaller and smaller and smaller to try to target a specific limited genre, because there's not as much competition there. But I mean, just think about that, CJ. What would you, if you have to write to that instead of this? I mean, it just makes it so much more difficult, but it's something you have to think about when you're writing and publishing a book.
Oh,
But
keywords are painful too, because you
yeah,
got to keep them the same within a series, or they might not find the same hands. But we're talking about the actual target audience and the genres and stuff like that. So keywords are a whole other episode.
right. But they are part of the target audience
They are.
that you are trying to appeal to.
They
I
are.
still I still think the broader appeal to a broader audience works more often than not in the best interest of an indie author. And I
They
think,
are, but you have to be very, very careful
right, right,
because if you put it down wrong, and that's a problem, is that Amazon locks you
right.
into it. It won't let you put it down too broad.
Well, I was gonna say the opposite of that is that if you try to target a smaller and smaller slice of whoever your target audience is, you may be more target specific in terms of the books you sell, but maybe you won't sell as many, or you won't reach as many readers because of that. And it's something that you have to consider. And like I said, if a new author is just starting out in 2026, I would say that this is probably one of the most important things that they will have to do, is to make sure they know who they're writing to and their target audience, and be knowledgeable of all the subgenres, and also the age categories, and whether or not they're going to be going for the broader audience or for a more specific audience. And again, last week our author, Cozy Apocalypse, how many? I mean, yeah, you have to say that's a pretty specific audience.
I love that, to be honest. I'm not.
Cozy Apocalypse.
I loved her. Totally loved her.
Yeah.
And I love unique books, so that's why. And I loved her. She was awesome. Um, but you have to be very careful. It's kind of like my books. I wrote them mainly probably for like new adults, but I wrote them that if any of my youth group kids pick them up from like ninth grade up, that they would be okay, because I knew that they were going into school libraries. So it's like my target audience was probably more or less new adult.
Yes.
But if my other kids picked them up, they'd be okay. And I knew they were going into school libraries, and which is the younger group, which would put it at young adult of 12 to 18. And those high school kids ate those books up. So it wouldn't have actually fit the young adult of 12-year-olds. It's more like the 16 and up. So like 16 and up doesn't fit it because the category of young adult is 12. So if they had one of like 16, 15, 16 and up, yeah. But see, there's no category of 16 and up.
No, there isn't. I think there should be myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you fit that in there? It's not possible. So they put it at 12, and it's like, but 12 is too young for some of those. It's not the new adult of 18. It needs to go down to like 16, 17. That to me would be more new adult than 18.
Right, right.
30 to me is a little too old. It should be like 16, 17 through like 25. To me, that's new adult. But that's not the age that they're putting that in. So to me that's too wild of a number.
I don't know how Amazon came up with those arbitrary age,
Yeah.
But I would think 16 to 18 is,
I put it at 25, to be
I
honest.
think that should, I think that, I don't know why that's not a category. One of the things that, again, if you're a new author and it's hard to do, is you should probably have your target audience in mind before you write your first word. You really should. And again, that's not easy to do because we're pantsers, right? We're not planners. So with people that are pantsers that write, by the seat of their pants, you may start off at PG, but you may end up at PG-13 or even R. Okay, or you may start off and you think it's going to be more PG-13, but it's a little bit more PG or G. So if you know who your target audience is before you write the first word, that would help. But I know it's easier said than done. Trust me, I've been there, done that. But it sure makes it a whole lot easier once you get your book published to have written to the audience that you knew beforehand you were trying to reach.
Yeah. So basically, our thing is know your target audience,
right,
and don't irritate readers before they even pick up your book. We're trying to save you all some stress. We're trying to help here. So just know your target audience and figure it out. Next week, we have C.W. Hawes, who's post-apocalyptic. He has a myriad of books under his belt, so we're excited to have him on. He's currently sending me all of his covers, so I'm super excited to get his stuff together for y'all. Next week, same time, same sandbox. We'll catch you then. In the meantime, know your target audience as you're writing that book. Catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.